So I want to touch on one last company called Amplitude. Now, for those of you that don't know, Amplitude is actually what they do is they provide a data analytics tool and a SaaS platform so that, companies can go in, sort of link it with their processes, link it with their software, and it would optimize their, it would effectively clean and spit out data so that you can optimize your processes and optimize your products. Now, specifically along, app usage or web usage or any sort of product that you have in terms of viewership, in terms of anything that you'd like, it's so customizable. It's not very easy to learn, but once you have learned it, it's got a steep learning curve, but once you have learned it, it's really useful and I've used it before. So Amplitude, why am I bringing this up? Because they just went IPO'd, I believe on the 28th of September. And it's to note that they went IPO, I believe, at $35 a share. And as of now, it's up to $50 a share. Valuing the company at, was it $5 billion?
5 billion.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah, it's somewhere there.
Somewhere around
billion
there.
or so between friends, right? It's
yeah. So just to put it in perspective, our sovereign wealth fund, Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund, GIC, went into this last round of funding, which was then valued Amplitude at $4 billion. So it's up by $1 billion from June to right now, which is October, which is amazing, right? So of course they're funded by Sequoia Capital and of course GIC, which is Singaporean Sovereign Wealth Fund. It's for those of you who don't know, Sequoia Capital also invested in Facebook and the works, right? They're sort of the a lot of people look to where Sequoia's invested and then invest again. Yeah. So it's good on Sequoia for doing all of that, and it's good for Amplitude, right? So I think some numbers that I want to pull up. They had a 56% jump year over year in terms of revenue from last year to this year. Yes, they've had a loss, but most companies have a loss nowadays. But yeah, what do we think, right? Where do we see this sort of data analytics tool, Joel? If I can just kick off with you in the next few years. Have you used it in your work? How would that be looking?
To be very honest, this is not my area of expertise. So the only data, I don't know if you actually consider Dropbox. Do you consider them a data analytics company? Like I probably only use Dropbox, but other than that, I don't really use any other data analytics company. So I don't really pay much attention to them. Maybe Anthony has more to share on this.
Go ahead.
Oh no! Look, law is even more old school, right? I'm surprised we use computers than the internet. But yeah, I mean, look, I think. To me, I think that there is a midterm secular trend there. Data is the new oil. Where there's going to be a lot of data. It's about how to best use it to impact your business, right? Whether that's internal or external, I think it's going to be important. Definitely, as we throw off and we generate more data. I think we have probably. I remember reading this earlier this year. We have created more data over the past year than over the past 2 or 3 decades. So that's the volume that we are talking about. That's the improvement we are talking about. And once there's more data, there will be a lot more thought being put towards how to best use it to benefit shareholders, to benefit the company, to benefit society, what have you, right? But there now that it's there, we have to use it as a resource. So it's great. I think I don't know enough about the company except that it has a price to sales of 40 times, which is it looks expensive, right? On what 50% revenue growth year on year. So that's great, but not fantastic. Expensive, but I think if we are looking at it, this has to be a mid to long term thing. It has to be that you ride the trend and you hope that this company executes really, really well, right? And I mean, Rak, you can probably tell us more about it, but I mean, it seems as if they are executing, at least right at this very early stage, right?
Yeah, definitely, right. So a lot of people may not have heard about them because they're not really open in the market, right? It's not like a Coca-Cola that you buy every day. And they actually go and sell to anyone from a startup right down to a conglomerate. And the cool thing about them is, I think, as Anthony mentioned, right, data is so normal in everybody's day-to-day decisions now. In management, in board meetings, they want to see the data, even behind sales, right? So myself, I'm a salesperson. When I report on my sales figures, it's not just about how much revenue we made, but right, what's the activity level? What are all these additional stuff that we are doing to make that revenue? It's a sort of one level lower. And all this data we're collecting needs to be firstly captured correctly, cleaned, and showed in charts. Because let's be honest, everybody wants to see charts. If you give a table, everybody like, yeah, no, I'm not reading that. Everybody's allergic to numbers in that sense. So you have to show charts. And Amplitude does this really seamlessly, right? Having used them as well. I mean, not specific for sales figures, because we know we'll look at other software for it, but even product usage. And that's so important, because when you look at products, for example, you can understand which page does what, where's the viewers being, who's viewing this page, is it got good traction, et cetera, et cetera. Is nobody clicking this button, right? So all of these things can actually be monitored. And because we're moving towards app-based, we're moving towards all these digital media and web platforms, Amplitude really gives a solid understanding of who clicks what where and whether it's good for you and for your business. All of that in charts, all of that in numbers if you want it. You have to go find for the numbers, but you can go find for it. But what it really does is it gives you the impact each page is providing on your business. And that is brilliant for business management and making decisions. So I see this as definitely a good way to get started. If you don't know anything about Amplitude, go do your research, do your thing. But I see this in 5 to 10 years as what we probably talked about EV a few years ago, right? I think it's just starting. People are just understanding what data is. And I think it's a good option to buy. I'm not in Amplitude right now. I don't work for them. They don't pay me to say this. I just want to say out loud. But I strongly believe in their product. Yeah.
Actually, on that note, who are their competitors?
Yeah, good question. So I mean, there are some out there. Most of the product software is actually create their own on the back end. But if you look at it, I believe Looker also does it. Looker is currently owned by Google. They were a they were a standalone company, and then they were acquired by Google, I believe, last year. So that's what I used previously. Amplitude, I think there are a few other softwares as well. Not many in this space, which is where I think it's key as well.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it, Anthony. I was going to make one last note on that, but it's a separate topic.
I was going to say that makes it sound more promising, right? You have a pure play company, right? Imagine, I mean, I'm sure Amazon has this tool in their backend, definitely, just for their website. But Walmart's never going to buy that solution from them, right? Being agnostic in the company, being agnostic in the industry, I think it's probably, given how big tech is dominating now, it's probably something that's good, for a mid-sized company in the longer term.
Yeah, no, definitely. So for example, if you look at usage, right? So web usage, for example, that would be Google Analytics. But obviously, it's completely different from what you get on Google to what you get on Amplitude. So much deeper. So yeah. Yeah, I think one last thing to note, though, is that Amplitude went IPO through a direct listing. They did not go through a spec, right? So for our listeners, we did speak about spec and Grab and their potential spec and a few others. But this is actually the second tech company to go through a direct listing to an IPO in 2 years. So I think that's really cool.